channel. Today I am going to talk about maternity allowance. So this video is specifically aimed at anybody who is self-employed. So if you are running your own business and you are classed as self-employed, then you are going to want to know more about how to claim maternity allowance before you go off and decide how much maternity leave you're going to take and what that's actually going to look like for you. And the information that you can find online isn't the best. It's a little bit confusing and it's a bit vague. And I had a lot of very specific questions that I wanted to ask before I even filled out my claim form, which I'm actually yet to do. But although it's quite difficult to speak to a human, once you do speak to a human, they are incredibly helpful. I actually did a quick reach out on Twitter to my followers to ask for any advice for other people, what they had done, how they had found the process, because like I say, when you initially look at it and you look at the form, it all feels massively overwhelming. But actually, when you get into it, it's not as confusing or complicated as you think, but there are lots of, well, once you've done this, then you need to do that. So I thought I'd break it down a little bit for you. Obviously, this is assuming that you are eligible, and you'll have to go and read through the guidance to make sure. If you go on the gov.co.uk website, you'll be able to find out all of the information about how you're eligible, how you apply, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to cover off some of the things that I think will be really helpful for you if you are self-employed and you're looking at claiming maternity allowance, so that you can have some maternity leave, and how long you decide to do that for. So you can claim maternity allowance once you've been pregnant for 26 weeks. So there's no point filling out the form or sending it in before that point, because they won't process your claim. So you need to figure out when you reach 26 weeks, whereabouts that is. And my advice would be fill out the form in advance, think about how much time you're actually going to take off, and work out all of that kind of stuff beforehand, because then when you send the application in, they're going to work out what you're actually entitled to. The maternity allowance payments can actually start up to 11 weeks before the baby is due. So that's worth bearing in mind, depending on how much time you want to take off pre-baby versus how much maternity leave you want to have once the baby's here. And obviously due dates are due dates, but they're open to change, let's just say that. So if you do want to factor in some time beforehand, just know that you've got up to 11 weeks prior to your due date to take maternity allowance. You're eligible for between £27 and £156.66 a week for a total of 39 weeks. Now they will work that out based on your national insurance contributions. And so there will be a test period calculator that you can use on the website to try and figure out what you should be eligible for. But even if the result comes back and it tells you that you're eligible for less than what you think you should be, firstly, you can appeal that, but also HMRC will contact you and you'll be able to add in additional payments for your national insurance, and that will buffer up your allocation to reach that £156.66 weekly limit. When you fill out the form, you'll also be able to request whether you want your maternity allowance payment to be every 2 or every 4 weeks. Personal preference, I guess it's whatever works better for you, but it's worth considering that and knowing how you're going to prefer to have that before you fill out the form, because that is one of the questions they're going to ask you. To claim, you're going to need to fill out a maternity allowance MA1 form. You can get it on the gov.co.uk website. If you search in Google maternity allowance claim form, it's going to come up there. You can download it, fill it out at home, print it off. You can even request paper copies. So whatever works better for you. But I would say download it sooner rather than later, so that you can wrap your head around it a little bit and figure out the bits that you do actually need to complete and fill out yourself. It will be based on your own circumstances, so everybody's going to fill out the form slightly differently. But yeah, I would have a quick read through, and then if there are any questions that obviously aren't addressed in this video, you can always call them up and I will share the number with you in this video, because like I say, on the telephone they are super helpful. Just persist with the waiting line and make sure that you get through. You'll also need to provide proof of your baby's due date from your midwife. This is called a MAT-B1 certificate. So you'll get this from your midwife around anything from your sort of 20-week appointment with your midwife. And make sure before you take the form away with you that it's all been filled out and signed. It's got the correct date on there, because if you send anything off and it's missing information, it's going to delay them processing your form. And every pregnant woman will tell you need to get in early when you're claiming your maternity allowance, so that you've got an area, a period of time where if something's not quite right or they're haggling over how much, you can go back and forth and it doesn't actually impact on your actual maternity leave that you want to take. Once you've submitted, you should get a response on your claim within 20 days. So keep an eye out for that coming through. And then, like I say, if there are any discrepancies, things that don't make sense, you can always call them up. There is a claims line. So if you're not happy with the result or you don't think it's the right result, you can contact them direct and follow that up. And if there is an issue with your national insurance contributions or that you need to make slightly more, then HMRC will write to you to let you know about that. There were also a couple of questions that I specifically had around my business. So I have a membership side of my business which generates ongoing monthly income. One of the questions that I had was, do I need to ask all my clients to cancel those payments in my absence over maternity leave, or can those payments continue? Your business can continue to generate income in your absence. It's more relevant to the days that you actually work in the business, and those are classed as keeping in touch days. So if you do work days during your maternity allowance, those need to be declared as keep in touch days, and you get 10 of those to use. I also wanted to know whether I could do a set period of time as full-time maternity, and then whether I could go back to part-time hours so that I would still get some level of support, but obviously I'll be able to go back and look after my personal training clients. Very important to me that I can't take significant chunks of time out of the business. They've confirmed that is absolutely fine and feasible. What you do is, once you reach the end of your full time that you want to take, and you're about halfway through those 10 keep in touch days that you're using as working days, you contact them again to say that you want to go back to part-time hours. My understanding is that's up to 3 days of work. You can't do it based on hours, it has to be based on days, which is a little bit annoying for self-employed, but that's just the system. Once you know what days you want to go back and from what point, they will then recalculate what you're entitled to from the maternity allowance based on your new part-time hours. So it's well worth looking into if you want to do a bit of a phase return, or you're not convinced that you want to go back full-time after a short period of time. Maybe you want to kind of dabble between the two. I personally am going to take a chunk of time off full-time, and then I'm going to go back part-time and use up the rest of the 39-week allocation, however long that may be. Those 10 keep in touch days, you can use them at any point. All you need to do is make sure that you notify them that you're using those keep in touch dates, what those dates are, and you can work, from my understanding, either an hour that day or like 12 hours that day, as if you'd want to. But a working day is classed as a working day, so whether that's answering some emails, that is classed as a working day. So you need to be really smart about how you use those 10 keep in touch days and make sure that you're very economical with your time. If there's still things that you're not clear on, or you have very specific questions relating to your business or your circumstances that you're not clear on from the information on the Gov website, or from this video, or from any other people that you've asked about claiming for maternity allowance, because it is a minefield of information, then do call the helpline. Like I say, they do ask that you don't follow up and chase up claims too early, give them time to process them and get in touch with you direct. But if you do just have generic questions where you're just not clear on how it impacts you, or how you can apply, or whether you can, the decisions that you can make that better suit your business, then please ring them and ask them, because they are incredibly helpful to speak to on the phone. So although the information online feels a little bit vague and possibly not the most helpful out there, I get it. It is frustrating and it's not ideal to be trying to navigate that whilst you're pregnant either. Hello. But you will get to speak to somebody and they will have the answers to your questions, and that is really all that matters. And I would say find out sooner rather than later, so that you can start communicating that through your business channels to your clients, so that you can make sure that everybody knows and understands when you're going to be off, how long for, how that's going to impact them, and how you're going to look after them in your absence, all that kind of stuff. So for your own peace of mind and your own sanity, to know exactly when you're going to be off and how long for, and what you're going to be eligible for financially to support you to do that, it is definitely worth giving them a call and finding out. So I hope that was helpful. It was just a really quick snapshot into maternity allowance. And like I say, this is my understanding of the process from having a conversation with a member of staff there, and from reading all the information and the form that you need to fill out. So any questions, drop me a comment below, but I hope this was helpful, and best of luck if you're self-employed and you are currently planning for your maternity leave. Thanks, guys.